In today's video, we're going to be talking about the Tashkent Declaration/Agreement. In my words, a forgotten attempt at peace between India and Pakistan. To understand that, I have to talk about the 1965 Indo-Pak War first. The year is 1965, and India and Pakistan are at war. In the south, in the Rann of Kutch, Pakistani and Indian troops engage in brutal combat. Meanwhile, in the north, a large insurgency occurs in Indian-occupied Kashmir. You see, Kashmiri Muslims demanded freedom from India, but the Indian army cracked down and even opened fire on the Kashmiris, leaving several innocents dead. The new Kashmiri freedom movement gained funding by the Pakistani army, and according to India, even the Pakistani intelligence agency was there at the time. It's important to note that Pakistan was controlled by a military president called Ayub Khan, and India was controlled by Lal Bahadur Shastri, the Prime Minister. Indian and Pakistani troops engaged in harsh fighting. At the Hajipur Pass, Indian troops crossed the border and brutally seized it from Pakistan. At the same time, Kashmiri freedom fighters were brutally suppressed by Indian troops. If we go a little more south, we see two major cities, Akhnur and Lahore. These were really important cities to both countries. Lahore was a major city in Pakistan, and Akhnur was India's main communications hub. So both parties tried taking each other's city. Wait, but isn't this video about the Tashkent Declaration? Where'd that go? Well, we're getting there. Both countries were under pressure by the three main world powers. China threatened to escalate the conflict if India invaded Lahore. Meanwhile, the Soviet Union and the USA wanted the conflict to end and really didn't want China to get involved. So, under diplomatic pressure, both countries halted their advance. On September 22, 1965, the UN was able to negotiate a ceasefire, officially ending the 1965 Indo-Pak War. Bringing peace, right? Well, no. Both countries were still hostile and didn't reach a proper agreement, and it looked like another Indo-Pak War was soon coming. So, Alexei Kosygin, the Soviet premier, took the matter up to himself and sought to build a framework for peace between India and Pakistan. He opted to host a conference at the city of Tashkent, which modern day is part of Uzbekistan, but back then it was controlled by the Soviet Union. Both parties and their delegates met in Tashkent, hoping to reach some sort of agreement. The Pakistani side demanded an election in Kashmir. Meanwhile, the Indian side kept reaffirming that Kashmir was theirs. Meanwhile, Kosygin acted as a mediator. Both parties went back and forth about their demands at a round table in Tashkent. Several delegates from different countries were invited. In my opinion, the Tashkent Declaration was a historical event that receives very little recognition. But with the help of Alexei Kosygin's mediation, both parties reached an agreement and came up with the Tashkent Declaration, with both parties agreeing to it. Firstly, prisoners of war would be returned from both sides. Both countries would also agree to improve their relationship with trade agreements and diplomatic meetings. The most significant agreement was that all territory seized by either country's militaries during the 1965 war must be given back, and troops must be moved to their pre-war positions. So, the Tashkent Agreement was a successful attempt at bringing peace, right? This is the first time both countries reached an agreement, but it's not all good. Firstly, the Pakistani Foreign Minister and later Prime Minister Zulfikar Ali Bhutto stated that although the Tashkent Agreement resumed dialogue between India and Pakistan, it didn't solve the Kashmir issue. Although this statement was harsh to the attempt of the Tashkent Declaration, he was right. He would go on to sign his own type of Tashkent Agreement known as the Shimla Agreement in 1972, which I might talk about in a future video. Bhutto was right, and the nature of the Kashmir dispute was that with two major superpowers, India and Pakistan, claiming one piece of land and not willing to compromise, if, let's say, the Soviet Union tries to mediate and tells India that Kashmir is theirs, Pakistan will get outraged, and vice versa. This dilemma has kept Kashmir disputed for 70 plus years, and even the United Nations hasn't been able to solve the dispute. But perhaps the biggest controversy of the Tashkent Declaration would be the mysterious death of the Indian Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri. He died in Tashkent because of a heart attack. But that is very suspicious that he died while on an already controversial diplomatic mission. So people started drawing conclusions about who killed the Indian PM. People thought it was the CIA, but most people guess it was Indian intelligence, due to the fact that they didn't want to make peace with Pakistan and wanted conflict with Pakistan, and the Tashkent Declaration aimed for peace. With the arrival of Indira Gandhi in India, a wave of anti-Pakistan movements began that are still existent today. Pakistan and India regularly resume conflict, and the Tashkent Declaration remains forgotten in history. The Tashkent Declaration was the closest Pakistan and India ever got to a peace. In my words, it is a forgotten attempt at peace between India and Pakistan. It can be compared to Neville Chamberlain's Peace for Our Time speech, in which he, although achieves peace, it is only for a short time. That ends our story about the Tashkent Declaration.